Hello friends, my name is Shivam from DevOps Schools and I will help you to enable your learning process in various technologies of DevOps, artificial intelligence, machine learning, big data and many more. This is our initiative to help you by sharing multiple tutorials and videos. And if you want any specific tutorials or any particular topic, then please do comment in the below comment section and I will help you with it. Also, please subscribe to our premium services on YouTube, which will give you access to more content and videos to enhance your knowledge about all these topics. Also, if you want me to help you with regards to the online trainings and classroom sessions by our qualified trainers, then please do write me at contact@devopsschool.com. Thank you.
So there is a link here, Web Identity Federation Playground. So this is just a demo what happens in the background. Let me see if it works. So these are the you can authenticate with the identity providers. So these are the identity providers which are available. So I will just say Google and let me sign in. Google. Okay. So I've given some permissions here. Now let me try this. So obtain. Let us see. So now this did not work. I think there is some wrong issue. Let me just try it. So you can try it. Actually, it should. Ah, so there is an error. Invalidate error. Message validation error detected. Let me just try it again. Authenticator. Okay. So I think yeah, the seconds until the token expires. Now, if so there is a handshake happening between the two. Now, if I go to the second step and proceed to step number 3, actually we should get a token here. Fine, first policy, assume the role. Okay, fine. So let us look at the handshake. So what is happening is there is a request from the Amazon, and now here if you see in the response, it is a assume role with web identity response. So I'm assuming the role, and that role there is a policy to read a S3 bucket. So if you step number 3, access S3 resource. If you see list bucket is the action. Now if I go and say, okay, so this is reading the bucket. So this is the bucket which is getting read. So this is just a small demo. So what it is trying to showcase, or what is happening in the background is, even if you don't have the AWS account, through these identity providers, you can give temporary access to your AWS resources. So what happens is basically STS service is in the picture, and you will get temporary credentials. And what it is doing, it is assuming the role, and that role has got a policy. So the role will, you can assign a policy to the role, and so through the role you can execute certain command, certain access. Are you getting it? So that is scenario number 3, where roles are used. So first scenario is two services talking to each other. Second scenario is two accounts you want to give access to. There you can use it. Web Identity Federation. This is another use case. And the fourth case is SAML Federation. So now, if you want to integrate your AD, Active Directory, with IAM, you can do that. So there will be a SAML provider. So ADFS you need to configure on your Active Directory, and then you can integrate it with this. So this also happens through a role. Am I clear? Any doubts? Am I audible? Am I audible?
Yeah, yeah. Can you please explain the role functionality? Like I missed that role functionality. So I got it from here. Like two services need to talk each other. Then we assign a role to one service.
Correct.
Yes,
Correct.
right?
Right.
Okay.
So that is this first one. Then another account you want to give a role.
Yeah,
Then
I got it.
yeah. That is, and third is the web identity.
So
So without
SAML 2.
having actual,
What is it?
yeah. SAML is for federation. So suppose you have an internal Active Directory, and the user gets authenticated on Active Directory, but you can use those credentials to give access on AWS resources. Then for that you can use it.
Okay.
Okay.
So,
Fine. So
one
that
doubt.
is yeah.
Hello. So
Yeah.
for this
Good.
web identity, right? Like from where did we generate the token? So we just created the new provider and it went to that web identity console URL.
Good. No, that was
Okay.
a demo. So actually there is a API call that you need to make, and so it will give you access token with a TTL, and that you can use it.
Yeah. So
So there is actually a
how did you reach that
yeah.
URL web identity? The next URL, right?
So that was a demo. Yeah. So here you are saying
No,
web
no.
identity
The web
playground.
identity URL, right? URL. No, in browser. Yeah. You're right.
Yeah, here it is there. Web identity playground. So here you can
Okay.
try this.
Thank you.
Amazon, Google.
So when we integrate it with the AD in SAML, so we'll be able to log in without the password. And post that, if we want to choose like a development access or production, so how to configure that role?
Next, so role to the role you will have to give policies. So for example, if I create a role, so I'll just show you. So to create a role. Now, first example, I will show you how to create a role. So I now allows AWS services to perform actions on your behalf. So I want to assign this, create this role and assign it to EC2 instance, for example. So I will go to next permissions. So I'll show you this demo so that you will know.
Okay.
So now I'm going to give him power user access. Give a name, related, create a role. So this role is created now. what I will do, I will create one EC2 instance and assign that role to that EC2 instance.
Okay. So based on the policies, we can restrict the user from using dev environment and production, right? Okay.
Right. So for the SAML, you get authenticated on the AD, and then suppose you are assigning this role of something, you want to access S3, then you will be able to do that through the AD authentication. Okay.
Okay.
So let me just, this is a small demo of how to give it to EC2, and without giving this user ID credentials, I will be able to do the same task through role. So let me just demonstrate that. So I will create instance. Let me just select this. Configure, go to configure. Now here you have a role, right? So I will
Okay.
configure this role. So no changes. I will just say role demo, and SSH is fine with me. Then just launch it. Go ahead with Augustine.
Security group.
Try. No, it said. Okay, so now this is running. Let it come up. Now what happens is if you use Amazon Linux CLI, sorry, Amazon Linux image AMI, then the AWS CLI comes pre-built. So I need not have to install it again. Okay, so let us see. This is my machine. This is my server. Let it start
So
this.
you have assigned a role fidelity to
Correct.
this EC2 instance, right?
This
So if
EC2 instance. Right.
those who are not having that specific role into their username, they will not be able to access it, is it? Or my understanding is
No,
correct?
this is, let's see, there are two things. One is first demo, what we did, we created a user and we have an access key, secret access key, correct? So we configured
Oh,
it,
yeah.
right? Now this demo, I'm not creating, I'll not be using any access key, secret access key. But now my EC2 instance will be talking to S3 service through a role.
Okay.
Okay, right? So here now let me connect. Yeah, so I got a prompt here. Now, if I say AWS, this is pre-installed. Okay, so I need not have to install it. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to run the command AWS3ls. It is working. Okay, so here I did not do AWS configure. I have not given access key, secret access key. That is for the user, right? But when I give this command AWS S3ls, actually my EC2 instance is trying to fetch information from S3. So how is it happening in the background? I have a role fidelity, which has got the power user access. So that is why I'm able to fetch this information. Okay. So this is
Okay.
a demo, small demo of two services talking to each other. Okay. Similarly, I don't know whether you will see it here, but if I try to log in as okay, so that is a small demo of how to use it for two services. Now what I want to showcase is how to switch role. Whether that option comes here or not, let me just try that. It's very slow. Yes. Okay. So what I'm doing is I'm logging in as a IAM user instead of root user. And let me just check whether I have an option of switching the role. If I go here, this is the option, switch role, right? So if you have another account and you have created a role which will give me access, then I can do this, switch role. Okay, switch role. So you'll have to specify the account name and the role. So I'll be that. So I'll be assuming this role. Are you getting it? So this is scenario number 2, what I'm just explaining. Okay. So through root you cannot do it, but
From
you
account
have to
account,
be.
you're explaining scenario 2 from one account to another account, right?
Right.
Yes.
Right. So first I explained the one service talking to another service. This is scenario number 2. Web Identity Federation, I have given you a demo. And fourth case is SAML. So that is not in the scope, but you can configure it on a ADFS. So once you get authenticated, you will have access. But in the background, it is STS service that will be used. Fine. So these are the 4 applications of a role. Yeah. Any questions on IAM?
Oh, can you please explain the CLI? Actually, I missed out that. Sorry to
CLI.
ask you. Yeah, I missed out that actually. It's disconnected.
No, what exactly you want? How to install or how to use it, or what exactly you want? Or you miss completely? Hello?
20 minutes, I didn't hear you, so that's why.
Oh, 20 minutes. That's a long period.
Yeah.
Anyway, so you will get the recording. You can refer to that. So the recording is on. So whenever you want it. So CLI, you completely miss CLI or how?
Completely missed CLI, so
Oh,
okay.
completely.
No,
Srishant, you will
I'll
share
watch
the
it on
recording, right?
Will you share the recording videos?
Yeah. So I'll talk to the coordinator.
Then okay.
Fine. So any questions? So these are the last thing which is remaining in IAM. Let us cover that and then we'll break for lunch. So that is about policies. Okay. So let me just sign in. So I'm just having to log in, log out, and sign in as root. Okay, I will just sign in as root. Okay, so then we have the policies. So policies, when we were discussing S3, I told you there are two types of policies. One are the IAM policies, and other are resource level policies. Right. So here we are talking about the IAM policies. Now there are certain predefined policies. So far we have been using predefined policies for user access, admin access, etc., etc. But you can create your own policy. So suppose if I say create my own policy, and I can choose a service, maybe S3, say S3, and then there are certain actions here. So if I want to restrict the user so that he can take only certain actions on S3, I can do that. Okay, so this is how it is, and I can specify the resources. So actions are there. Now I can specify the resources. I can do specific resources. I can do all resources. All resources means star. So it will give me star. Now if I create this policy, now I have put only certain actions. So I will say S3 specific access, and this I will put the same thing here in the description. Create policy. So let me just show you how the JSON looks like. Okay. Okay, so only specific permissions I'm giving to this user. So get access point, get lifecycle policies, etc., etc. Resources all. So it will work on all buckets, but only these calls will be allowed. Okay, so I can assign this policy to a user, and this user will be able to perform only these activities on S3. So you can go to any granular level in terms of giving access. It's not that you need to give all access. Uh, so it depends upon at what granular level you want to go. Okay, so there are some predefined policies which you can use. Those are coming from AWS. Otherwise, you can create your own custom policies. Fine. Any questions on this topic? I am
No, nothing.
okay. Fine then. I think
What
we
about these
will. Yeah.
identity providers?
Identity. Which one? Identity providers. I just explained. So you can have identity provider. So this is SAML and OpenID Connect. Okay. So that's
Oh,
same thing. So let's move ahead with the next service. And the
Srikanth,
service is yeah.
before going to that, I have one doubt in role. Okay, so under when we are creating a role, so there is a boundary, some boundary on that for that role. What is it indicates? In advanced features, I can see there.
Yeah. Boundary is the maximum permissions the role can have.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
So like if I select that admin, so what it will how it will act?
No, if you specify say S3 read only in the boundary, and you attach a policy S3 full access, then the boundary will always overrule the individual policy.
Yeah, got it. Actually, if I attach like policy in first I attached the admin role, and in second boundary role, if I attach S3 is not accessible, then it will
S3 will
initiate its
not.
boundary, right? Yeah,
Correct.
okay. Got it.
Correct. Okay, so let us start with our next service, that is VPC. So very important concept, virtual private cloud. So don't get confused by the name. It is not a cloud in a cloud or anything. It is basically giving you a isolated network environment within VPC. Okay. So far we have been using actually VPC, which is called default VPC. Okay. So when you create an account in every region, there is one default VPC which is already created for you. So VPC has got
Your voice is
different
breaking.
components. Your voice is breaking.
Oh, it's fine for me.
Because my
No, I
network
think
connection, I guess
your
it is.
voice is fine.
No, I
No,
think
Srikanth,
Francis.
I'm able to hear your voice clearly.
Yeah, I think it's a problem with his end. Actually, his voice is also not properly. We are unable to hear properly.
Correct.
So I think
I think his connection issue, I think, possibly. Okay, so just try to reconnect and we resolve this issue. Okay, so default VPC is already there in every region, and there are certain components in VPC. So we will have a look into those. So these components are already created in the default VPC. Moreover, basically it has got a fixed IP address range. So 172.31 is the IP address range for the VPC, default VPC. Now, when your enterprise or your client wants to move to AWS, they will not create the resources in the default VPC because the IP address range is fixed, 172.31. So usually what happens is, suppose this is my Fidelity network, and here internally I'm using the IP address range says 10.0.0.0/16. So we will restrict our discussion with IPv4. So this is the range you are currently using internally. And now you want to use some services of AWS, and you want to put some, EC2 instances in AWS, and finally you want to connect your data center or on-prem to AWS. Then naturally you want to extend the same IP address range for the private IPs of EC2 in EC2 in AWS. So this IP address range, if you want to give, then there is a need to create a custom VPC, okay, so which cannot be done in default VPC. For default VPC, the address range is different, which is by default 172.31, right? So when your enterprise moves to AWS, they will create their own custom VPC, and then they will put those resources in the custom VPC. So let us take an example, and actually we will be implementing the same scenario step by step. Okay. So let me draw a diagram, and let me explain what are the different components of.
To get our channel membership, click onto the join button, select the 3D99 plan and grow your skills immensely.
So this is my VPC I'm going to create. Suppose the name is Fidelity, and I have decided that my whole VPC range will be /16. Okay. So I go and create this VPC because my IP address range matches with my on-prem IP address range. So I can go ahead and do that. Now within this master VPC IP address range, I can create a subnet. Suppose I create a subnet 10.0.1.0 slash 24. Now this notation, for those who are not from purely development background or something, so CIDR notation, this is called CIDR notation. In old days, we used to talk about class A, class B, class C, class D networks. So now that concept is gone. It is now basically classless inter-domain routing, right? So there is no class. So it depends upon how many bits we are using for network and how many bits we are using for the host is decided by this number. Okay, so /16 means now totally this is a 32-bit address. So out of that 16 bits we are using for network and remaining we are using for the host. So this is my master range. In that I am now subnetting. So when I create one subnet /24, that means that 24 addresses I am reserving for the network part, the subnet address part. And these 8 bits remaining will be assigned to host, right? So if I write the various IP addresses, say 10.0.1.1 to 10.0.1.255, right? And first one is 0, 10.0.1.0, right? So this address is called this network, if you remember your college days. So this network. So this is not used for assigning it to a host. This usually will be your gateway. And this is your broadcast address. Okay, so 3 are gone out of 256 combinations. So we are left with 253. Now in AWS, there is one resort for DNS, one resort for DHCP, etc. So actually you get 251 addressable addresses, okay, in this /24 network. Okay, so coming back to this master range, now 10.0.0.0/16 is my master range. In that I have created one subnet. I will create another subnet 10.0.2.0/24 is my another subnet. Now there is something called as a internet gateway, IG, and this is again a virtual entity like your load balancer. I can create IG and I can attach it to the virtual VPC what I have created. Now there is always one IG per VPC. You don't need more IGs, so only one IG can be attached to a VPC. What is the function of this IG? It will connect your VPC to internet. Okay, so for connectivity outside or if the traffic coming into the VPC, you need a internet gateway. So this is again a virtual entity completely managed by AWS. You will not have to do anything. It will take care of the connectivity part. Now, okay, so that is there. Now let us come to the concept of public subnet and private subnet. So don't confuse this with public IP. It is I am calling public subnet and private subnet. So let me explain what is this concept. Now suppose if I say this is my public subnet. What do you mean by public subnet? If I create a EC2 instance in this subnet, then from internet I can reach this EC2 instance, as well as if I try to connect or browse outside, I'm able to browse outside. Okay, so that is basically the public subnet. Okay, so any instance sitting here, we are able to access from outside, or as well as the from the EC2 instance we can reach outside. So that is public subnet. Similarly, there is a private subnet. So if I put a EC2 instance here, then directly it is not reachable from outside. Okay. So directly it is not reachable from outside. So it is isolated kind of subnet. So directly there is no connectivity from outside. But if I SSH or if I do RDP to this EC2 instance sitting in my public subnet, then I can do RDP here from outside. And then I can again open a RDP connection from this. Okay, so that I can do. That way I can access it. Okay, so but no direct connectivity. Fine. So that is called private subnet. So it is sitting in private. Now this is one subnet, this is another subnet, this is 10.0.1, this is 10.0.2. Now traffic flowing from one subnet to another subnet within a VPC, you need a router, right? When traffic flows between two subnets, you need a router. So there is actually a router, but that is a virtual router, and its existence you cannot see. So from the user perspective, what I can say is traffic within VPC is a local traffic. So even if I create 5 subnets, the EC2 instances sitting in those 5 subnets, they can talk to each other on a private IP. Okay, so from a user perspective, it is a local traffic within VPC. Though there are these virtual routers already present, but the existence, we cannot feel the existence of those, right? Okay, so that is the concept of public subnet, private subnet, and the connectivity is there between these subnets, that is flowing via this virtual router. Now, how do you make a particular subnet a public or a private subnet? Is there is something called as routing rules. Routing rule. So when I say in a rule, so I will write some sample rules here. So first rule, I will write 10.0.0.0, that's 16. I will say local traffic. That means this is my complete VPC range. And what I'm specifying here in local means within VPC, anybody can talk to each other. Okay. So only restriction is your security group rules. But for connectivity part, there is no problem. So one EC2 instance from one subnet can talk to another EC2 instance in another subnet. So that is defined by this rule number 1. Now, if I define another rule, say 0.0.0.0/0, and if I say IG, so 0.0.0.0 means any IP. So this represents any IP. So this rule, what I'm specifying, any IP, if I want to go to, then my traffic flows via IG. And what is my IG? Internet gateway. So I have a connectivity going out, right? So suppose this set of rules I associate with my subnet, this subnet, then this subnet becomes a public subnet, because there is a rule saying that any traffic flows via IG, right? But suppose I have only first rule, say 10.0.0.0/0, and it says local, and this IG rule is not there, then that becomes a private subnet, because there is no rule saying how the traffic will come inside or go outside, and IG path is not mentioned, right? So that subnet will become a private subnet. Okay. Now, when you work in your enterprises or organizations, you actually use this setup. So you usually what you do, your web servers are sitting in the what is called as a demilitarized zone. So anybody can access on port 80. But there is an internal network. So if this is your suppose say firewall, this is my DMZ region, and this is my internal region. So internal your laptops, everything is on the internal network, right? So from the laptop, you can browse outside, but any person sitting on the internet cannot see your laptop, right? So that is what the scenario is. So it is similar to this. So in the public, I can put web servers. They are accessible from outside. Here I can put DB servers, database servers. The web server can talk to the database server, take the data. But database server is not directly exposed to outside traffic. Okay. So these are different components of a VPC. Okay. So these are all virtual entities, and we can create them and design our own VPC. So I'll just show you this diagram in the PPT. Open that presentation. Okay, so this is the diagram of our default VPC. Okay, so you have whatever components I have shown you, they are already there, and I will show it in the console also. But this is what is happening in the default VPC. So you have the VPC. This is the VPC. You have a internet gateway which is attached to this default VPC, which will allow your traffic from these subnets to go out to internet, as well as the traffic can come in via the IG. These are the two subnets. So if you notice, the IP address range is 172.31.0.0/20, right? And there are two EC2 instances which are placed here. And since the default VPC, all subnets are public subnets. That is why in all these exercises, when we created a EC2 instance and put it into one of the availability zones, actually in the default VPC, what happens is the subnet is assigned to availability zone. So in the North Virginia region, there were 6 availability zones. So we had 6 subnets. Okay, so we can place them into any one of the subnets or availability zones, and all of them are public. So that is why we were able to connect to our EC2 instances when we install them, right? So this is depicted here in the routing table. So this is the VPC range 172.31/16, and target is local, so that within VPC it is treated as a local traffic. When you go out, it is flowing via IG. Okay? So this rule is there for all subnets. That is why all subnets are public subnets. Now let us see all these components in our console first. Okay. Let me go here and show you. EC2, sorry. We need to go to VPC. Okay, so now if I go to, I'm in North Virginia region. I have this VPC, which is a default VPC, but already created for me. And this is my CIDR range 172.31.0.0/16. Now, when I go to internet gateways, so I have an internet gateway and it is attached to the default VPC. Okay. So these two entities we are able to see. Then let me go to subnets. So these are the subnets and they have different CIDR ranges. Now every subnet has to be assigned the availability zone. So when you create a subnet, it has to be attached to availability zone. A subnet is within the availability zone. You cannot span across availability zones, but one availability zone can have multiple subnets. That is allowed. Okay. So in the default VPC, there are these 6 subnets which are assigned to the 6 availability zones. So this is their subnets. Let me come to routing table rules. Now this is the routing table rule, routing table, and here it is said as main. Main is yes. So when you actually create a VPC, one routing table will get created by default, and that is called as a main routing table. So don't worry, we will be doing this exercise step by step. So this is main routing table. Now if I go to routes, now if you see, there are 2 rules here, 172.31.0.0/16, and it is a local traffic. 0.0.0.0 is any IP and the traffic is flowing via IG. Okay, so whatever I have shown you in the PPT, the same components are existing here. So this is the setup for default VPC. So similar setup, we want to make it for our own custom VPC. So that is the exercise we are going to do. Okay, just give me 2 minutes. I'll just wait.
It's
Give
in
me 1
inbound
minute.
traffic, right?
Yeah, just give me 1 minute. Yeah, sorry about that. So I'm back. Yeah, somebody was asking me a question.
Oh, it's you mentioned the destination 0000, right? /0. It's incoming
Right,
or outgoing?
right. It is for both. See,
Okay.
this address is any address, and anybody can reach inside as well as EC2 from EC2 instance. When you log in, if you try to ping outside, I mean any kind of traffic going out will be allowed. So it is both ways. Okay, so these are all virtual entities. Now the good part on cloud is if you have basic networking knowledge, you can easily manage this, right? So that is what we are going to showcase in our step-by-step exercise of creating a custom VPC. Okay. Now, before we move ahead, what is the scenario we are going to implement that I will show you. So this is the scenario we are going to implement. So we'll not be putting, we'll be putting one instance. This is my public subnet. We'll be putting one instance here. We'll be putting one instance here. And now this instance is not directly reachable from outside. But suppose this instance wants to communicate outside. Then for that purpose, we'll be putting one NAT gateway here. And then the traffic will flow via this NAT gateway outside through the internet gateway. So where how this scenario works is basically, suppose you are having a database server, and on that you run a command yum update. Now the patches or the updates are coming from internet, but you don't have direct connectivity outside. Then NAT will provide you the one-way traffic. So when you initiate traffic from this database server or any kind of EC2 server, it will flow via this NAT gate and go outside, and then reply will be allowed. Okay. So if you look through these custom routing rules, this is the main routing rule, which is 10.0.0/16 local. This is for the this thing 0.0. It goes via NAT. This is for the private subnet, and this is for public subnet. So public subnet, it is always going via IG. Private subnet, it is going via NAT. So this is the scenario we are going to implement ourselves. So we'll be creating all these components and testing the connectivity. Are we clear on what we are going to achieve?
Yeah. Like as you mentioned earlier, so the incoming inbound traffic can't reach a private subnet instance, right?
Correct.
So
Correct.
when you given demonstration on that, you mentioned they can using the public subnet instance through public subnet instance, you told, right?
Right. Right.
So
So
in this diagram,
Huh.
what is that main route table and custom route table?
See, when you create, don't go by the names. We'll be creating the route tables ourselves. So main route table in general is a route table which gets created when you create a VPC. So whether to use a main route table or not is up to you.
Okay.
Okay, so if you don't want to use it, don't use it. You can have your own routing table and specify the rules in that, associate with a subnet. Those rules will take effect.
Okay. So you have mentioned local and internet gateway ID, right?
Correct.
So that local address is used for communicating from the, I mean, customer communicates through public IP, right? So is that meaning correct? Or?
No, no. Local means the traffic is within VPC. So if you have two
Okay.
instances within VPC, they can communicate as if they are locally connected. That is what is the meaning of local.
Okay. So 0 means it allows everything.
Outside, yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, so for this exercise, what we are going to do is I will be, now there are 20 people. Fine. Now the limitation here is in every region, you can create maximum 5 VPCs. So one is consumed as default VPC. So there is a space for only 4 VPCs within a region. Okay. So now there is a need to change the region. So what I will do, I will pick up that Google sheet. I think it is updated. So everybody's name is here, I guess. Anybody missing? Right. So I will just write down the regions. I will be using North Virginia. So another 3 people can use North Virginia. Then let me go to, let me just write down so that there is no confusion afterwards. So North Virginia, I will take Ohio, North California, Oregon. Okay. Ohio, North California, Oregon. So 4 are gone. 4. Kumar, you will use. Oregon is there. We need to do another region. So Canada. Usually we do it in pairs, but now since we are doing it in individually. Okay, so Oregon and then what was remaining? 1, 2, 3, 4. We can now, how many are remaining? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5. Let me just do the names here. Let me just figure out. Oregon is gone. Canada, I will give. Canada Central and these are costly. I want to mess up with 100 points. So London, okay. This locks my screen. Okay. This. Oregon, Canada. So everybody is here, I guess. Anybody missing from this list? There are 5 to, I think, 19 candidates. Anybody who is not attending or something? Fine. So lastly, I will give London. So this is a long exercise and we will be creating a lot of resources. So please make sure that when we'll end this exercise, please delete all these items. They come at a very high billing rate, especially the NAT gateway. So my sincere request to you is once we have done with the exercise, we should delete all resources. Okay. So I'll be using North Virginia. The first 3 people will also be using North Virginia, and then the respectively whatever is mentioned in here. Please stick to your regions, and once the exercise is complete,
please enroll our general membership for $399 plan to get access of all the parts.
Along with that, you can access our other tutorials such as Docker, Ansible, Jenkins, Terraform, Splunk, AWS, Azure, and various other DevOps related premium tutorials with our channel membership. If you would have any issues with our channel membership, you can drop an email to us at contact@devopsschool.com, or you can also unsubscribe from channel membership anytime if you don't want to continue or did not like the video. To get our channel membership, click onto the join button, select the $399 plan and grow your skills immensely. Please be kind enough to like it, and you can comment any of your doubts and queries. We will reply to them at the earliest. Thanks for watching.